Have you ever wondered why certain beings were excluded from the immense divine plan? The impactful image of a closed door, with the inscription, "No entry allowed," is not just an illustration. It symbolizes the Creator's final decision to separate what should be preserved from that which was destined for extinction. At the threshold of a narrative that transcends time, we are invited to dive into a universe where faith, justice, and mystery converge, revealing the secrets of the flood and the paths paved for a new beginning. Let us imagine a world ravaged by corruption, where humanity had strayed from its purpose and wickedness spread in every corner. Amid this spiritual and moral decay, God chose Noah, an upright and faithful man, to be the guardian of hope and the bridge between the past and the future. The Ark, that wooden vessel built with divine precision, was not only a refuge but also a symbol of renewal and the rescue of life. It represented the only place where the righteous could gather and where the animals, under the Creator's command, would be preserved to repopulate the earth. As the setting unfolds, the introduction transports us to the final moments of an era punctuated by the urgent appeal of the divine. Enter the Ark and save your family, for judgment will come soon. This call is not just a command. It is the prelude to a transformation that would come to re-establish order in the world. Here, the tension between hope and despair intertwines with the mystery of destiny that awaits those who were chosen, and those who by an ineffable decree would not have access to salvation. In this first moment, we are confronted with existential questions. What would it be like to experience the presence of absolute justice? What would be the criteria that would define who belonged to this new world and who would be left behind? At the same time, the narrative awakens our imagination, inviting us to reflect on the parallels between ancient sacred texts and the legends that still echo in contemporary cultural traditions. From this point on, the story of Noah and the construction of the Ark emerge as a powerful symbol of unwavering faith and determination in the face of adversity. The stage is set for an epic journey where every detail, every word invites introspection about the mysteries of existence and the designs of the divine. Amid a world immersed in moral decay and corruption, Noah's choice emerged as a ray of hope in the darkness. God, observing the disdain for virtue and the spread of evil, found in Noah an upright man whose unwavering faith stood out in a society on a collision course with divine justice. Noah's mission was clear and at the same time full of mystery and challenges. He would be responsible for preserving the essence of life and establishing a new beginning for humanity and for all animal species. Receiving the divine call meant for Noah embracing a monumental task. He was instructed to build an ark, a vessel of titanic proportions that would function both as a refuge and as a symbol of divine renewal and protection. With each command, Noah realized that his mission went beyond the mere construction of a physical structure. He was, in fact, shaping an instrument of salvation and transformation. The meticulous details specified by God, exact dimensions, meticulously planned, compartments and the need for a tar coating reinforced the idea that nothing could be left to chance. Every board and every nail was a declaration of faith and precision, reiterating that the work obeyed a greater plan, sculpted by the Creator himself. The construction of the Ark was, without a doubt, a period of intense sacrifices and dedication. Noah, accompanied by his 3 sons, faced looks of disbelief and mockery from his contemporaries, who did not understand the urgency and importance of what was being erected. However, driven by a deep conviction and guided by divine instructions, he persisted with determination, turning every obstacle into a lesson of obedience and resilience. Through the daily labor and the collective effort of his family, the Ark began to take shape as a tangible symbol of hope and the restoration that loomed. During this period, the construction of the Ark became a physical manifestation of the sacred covenant between God and Noah. It was as if every hammer blow resonated in the heart of the universe, paving the way for the imminent purification of the world. Thus, the building process was not merely material, but also a profound act of faith, in which each architectural detail carried with it the weight of history and the promise of a new dawn. This mission, full of challenges and tests of determination, marked the beginning of a transformative journey that would echo through the ages. As the ARK solidified as the symbol of salvation, a deep mystery emerged: the reason why certain beings were excluded from the divine promise. Among the inhabitants of the pre-flood world, not everyone was destined for salvation. The very narrative reveals that there was a dividing line drawn by the Creator himself that separated the eligible from the abandoned. This mystery gains even more intense contours when we come face to face with the figure of the Nephilim and other enigmatic creatures who, by divine decree, would never find shelter in the ARK. The Nephilim, beings of unusual stature and strength, were already synonymous with corruption and transgression. Their origins, intertwined with unions that defied natural order, symbolized the pinnacle of the decay that had afflicted humanity. The deliberate omission of these giants, marked by unbridled ambition and the distancing from divine values, reinforces the message that obedience to the order established by God is indispensable for the preservation of life. Thus, the deliberate exclusion of these beings from the ARK underlines the importance of purity and integrity in the construction of a new world. But the enigma is not confined only to the Nephilim. Other creatures, whose identities are lost in the shadows of sacred texts, were also left behind. Some scholars suggest that such beings could represent anomalous hybrids, products of improper crossbreeding and experiments against the natural order. This possibility fuels not only theological debates, but also the popular imagination, which associates their memories with legends of monsters and mythical beings present in various cultures. This diversity of interpretations enriches the account, opening up space for reflection on the complexity of divine judgment and the limits of human intervention in creation. Moreover, the exclusion of these beings reinforces the selective nature of the flood, which, more than a simple punishment, was a redefinition of the natural order. The idea that only what is in perfect harmony with the divine purpose would be preserved, and the rest left in the purifying waters, brings forth the notion that creation is shaped by a logic that surpasses human understanding. The mystery of the excluded, therefore, invites us to reflect on the criteria that define what is acceptable and what must be eliminated, raising universal questions about the balance between preservation and renewal. When the flood finally descended upon the earth, the world was transformed irreversibly. The sky, which once announced an illusory calm, became bearer of dense and dark clouds that heralded the arrival of divine judgment. The first drops fell with overwhelming force, quickly turning into an implacable rain that engulfed everything in its path. The rivers, which until then meandered gently through the landscape, overflowed and merged into a single chaotic body of water that devoured the plains and the mountains. The water advanced mercilessly, carrying with it cities, forests, and the memory of a world that had been lost in corruption. Every element of nature seemed to respond to the divine command, demonstrating a strange balance between destruction and renewal. In that scenario, the flood was not only a punishment, but an opportunity for the restart of creation. Noah's Ark, amid that turmoil, emerged as a sacred refuge, a bastion of hope where life was preserved to rebuild the earth. Inside the Ark, silence mingled with the tension of those who anxiously awaited the end of the celestial judgment. Outside, the constant roar of the waters and the clamor of the elements presented a spectacle both terrifying and beautiful, as if the Creator himself were reconfiguring the foundations of the world. The descent of the water levels came gradually, allowing traces of land to emerge and the new geography to begin to take shape. Among the receding water, the first manifestations of a transformed world appeared. Once hidden mountains, valleys that were being reborn, and watercourses that gained new directions. This process of reconfiguration not only reshaped the physical landscape, but also profoundly altered the relationships between living beings. Nature, which had previously exhibited a distant harmony, began to show new and more intense cycles, clearly defining the seasons and establishing a new dynamic between animals and vegetation. The transformation was total, from the seas that invaded the plains to the peaks that now emerged as signs of the restart. The world reinvented itself. Under the aegis of a sacred covenant, that promise never again to repeat such devastation. The journey through the history of the flood and the divine designs comes to a conclusion that invites deep introspection and questioning of the role of human beings in the face of the mysteries of creation. By revisiting the paths taken by Noah, we realize that even amid destruction and chaos, the Creator always leaves a thread of hope, a promise of a new beginning. This reunion with the divine occurs not only in the physical reconstruction of the world, but also in the transformation of the human spirit, which must find the strength necessary to overcome the mistakes of the past and embrace renewal. In this context, the exclusion of beings considered incompatible with the new order reveals a crucial message: the preservation of a sacred balance that demands harmonious coexistence between natural forces and human action. The decisions made at that time, such as the separation between what would be saved and what would be lost forever, serve as a mirror of contemporary dilemmas in which sustainability and environmental ethics are becoming ever more important. Thus, the account of the flood transcends its historical character and is configured as a perennial warning about the dangers of moral corruption and the disregard for natural laws. Emerging from the waters, the new earth symbolizes not only the reconstruction of a civilization, but also the opportunity for an inner rebirth in which each individual can reflect on their values and choices. The divine covenant established after the flood, signified by the rainbow, reinforces the idea that nature is in constant transformation and that it is up to us to safeguard the harmony between creation and our own existence. It is in this moment of transition that a message of hope is drawn, the possibility of rewriting our history, learning from the mistakes of the past to build a more just and balanced future. Finally, the conclusion of this account invites us to a profound reflection on the duality between preservation and renewal. Every detail narrated, from the construction of the Ark to the choice of the excluded beings, reveals the importance of maintaining spiritual and environmental integrity as the basis for coexistence. Thus, the teaching of this age-old story remains alive, offering valuable guidance on how, through a commitment to ethics and responsibility, it is possible to transform adversities into opportunities for growth and evolution. This reflection echoes through the ages, inspiring each new generation to seek truth. As we conclude this epic narrative that spans the ages, we are invited to reflect on the legacy left by the flood and Noah's Ark, and how these ancestral events can inspire our actions today. The account is not limited to a distant episode in history, but resonates in the present, serving as both a warning and an inspiration so that we can take care of our planet and cultivate fairer and more balanced relationships with nature. In this context of environmental and social challenges that we currently face, the message of Noah's days assumes a renewed meaning. Just as the chosen one was tasked with preserving life amid chaos, we too are called to identify and protect what is essential for maintaining harmony in our world. Whether through the preservation of ecosystems, the promotion of social justice, or the adoption of sustainable practices, every positive action can contribute to the reconstruction of a better future. This perspective reminds us that, even in the face of great crises, there is always the opportunity to restart and transform reality. The Ark, in its symbolic magnitude, represents not only salvation but also the power of faith and conscious action. It teaches us that moments of calamity can be the starting point for profound and lasting changes. This reflection is an invitation for each of us to rethink our priorities and engage in causes that promote collective well-being. When we understand that transformation comes through a commitment to our daily choices, we open up space for a new paradigm of coexistence based on ethics and environmental responsibility. If you identify with this message and wish to follow more stories that inspire reflection and learning, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, we share narratives that unite the past and the present, inviting you to consider how ancient teachings can guide our actions today. Finally, this epilogue reinforces the importance of keeping the flame of hope alive and believing in the collective capacity for transformation. May the legacy of the flood and the lesson of the Ark inspire not only our thoughts, but more importantly, our actions, making each day a new opportunity to build a more harmonious and sustainable world. Until the next video.